ai venit la Carieră 360, un podcast gândit și creat special pentru tine. Suntem aici pentru a răspunde tuturor întrebărilor tale legate de carieră, precum ce carieră să încep, cum poți să primești jobul dorit sau cum să-mi schimb domeniul. La Carieră 360, niciun topic nu rămâne nedezbătut.
Hello, welcome to a new episode of Career 360, a podcast by Hipo.ro. Today we have as our guest Martin Van Loon, Global Head of GPS Finance at British American Tobacco Romania. And we will be talking about the power of understanding your strengths and how to leverage them in your career. Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for your invitation, Julia, to be part of your item, and obviously this very important topic.
Yes, it is. I think even for people in the beginning of the career and also for people that are already maybe in their career, we can always try to identify better our strengths and learn how to better utilize them. So what I wanted to mention is that throughout the podcast, we will answer to some questions that we receive from the public. And however, some questions that are related more specific to the programs and the recruiting process, we will answer afterwards in the comments. So Martin, I wanted to ask you, can you tell us a few things about yourself and what is it that you like the most in your career?
Yeah, sure. And so a little bit about myself. I've got a finance background. Yes, so I studied finance. And then I started working for a company via traineeship, and I think management traineeship, and I think that is very valuable to learn a lot of things in a short period. Then after that, I went to work for BAT. Worked now for BAT for 16 years. I have roles done as well in general management. I was country manager for the Netherlands, as in finance, right? So I've been and mainly in Europe. So I've been stationed in Rome, Amsterdam, Paris, London, and now in Bucharest. Which I obviously enjoy a lot, yeah. And this is kind of, I call it a journey, right? So if you wheel it back towards the theme, right, understanding of your strengths and how to leverage on them, I think it's a journey in which you are doing that. And sometimes you're very positively surprised, and sometimes you say, oh, I got a little bit of learning there, and I take it on board for my next step. So that's a little bit about me. So very international careers, and I had really the luxury to spend a lot of time with very talented people, and also basically to see development of talent, right, which I think is very important, of different backgrounds and different cultures. So that's a little bit about me, and also married and 3 kids. So very happily stationed now in Bucharest, as from past 5 months.
Okay, so recent.
Yes.
Well, we're glad to hear that you're enjoying Bucharest. And it sounds like for sure you're the perfect person to talk today about understanding our strengths and how we can advance in our career. Talking about British American Tobacco in Romania, could you tell us a few words about the company?
Yeah, so I can tell you a few words about the company, because I think it's also relevant, because I arrived in this company pretty recently, right? So I think in the first place, there's a humongous amount of talent here. Yeah, if you talk about people who are trying new things, who are developing new things, but also people, and they welcomed me with open arms. Yeah, also when I arrived, and it felt like a big family to me, which obviously is very good. And they're highly professional. Yeah, I also have to say that I've learned since the time I'm here, I've learned a lot from them. And on the other hand, I think it's a big warm family, and where we embrace teamwork. Yeah, I think it's very important. Obviously, we want to drive innovation. Yeah, so digitalization is very big on our agenda on the business side, and I think on the people side, we really want to develop people and let them step up to be ready for the next generation of leaders in BAT for us. And obviously they can do that either via the graduate program. Yes, we have a global graduate program, which is kind of a management trainee program. And on the other hand, we have also internship opportunities. Yeah, so people can also run an internship in BAT. And obviously, we also have a focus on specialized roles where people can also develop their skills and become a highly let's say professional person in a certain area which they believe they feel comfortable with.
Yes, and we will leave links below to all the programs that are now available, internship programs as well. The links will be in the comments so people can look for more details and apply to them. And also in the description of this video live, there is a link to the virtual stand where people can look for more information about BAT in Romania and what jobs are available as well. So because you're new in the company, I'm curious, well, somewhat new, I'm curious, from your experience until now, how would you describe the culture in 3 words? What would be 3 words that you would describe the culture there?
I call it diverse, entrepreneurial, and I would call it empowerment. Yeah.
Empowerment. That's a great one. I think is one of the new ones I've heard this season, and I really like that. Talking about understanding our strengths, how do you think we can best identify what our strengths are?
Well, I personally think it's learning by doing. Yeah. So and you need to be able to giving the context also of doing so. Obviously. Yeah. So if we don't allow people to try things, then obviously I think they don't learn. Yeah. So first, I think it's part of a company like BET and part of management to create a context environment that people feel safe to try different things. And obviously, people need to be able to based on the feedback that they get, to develop and to create their own insights. Yeah, so that's a bit how I look at it from a development perspective. So you need, on the one hand, to get in the right context, and in the second hand, what also a company obviously wants from people is free people to be honest. Yeah, and also people to drive for excellence in a way, right? So if you're very happy with the status quo, then it's for a company also more difficult to develop yourself. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm ready to develop myself and I want to learn new things, I think it's easier for a company or for a manager to say, okay, that is then somebody who we can put also effort into to develop more. Yeah, so that's a bit where I'm coming from. So it's always is a balance. And it's also all, I think, always a journey, right? So each time in your phase of your career, you will have different challenges, and you will get there. The other thing which works really well, I think, in BAT is that a lot of people get a mentor or a coach. Yeah. So not their manager, but somebody else in the organization, sometimes somebody senior, and they can talk to and sometimes ventilate, right? Because sometimes you need to ventilate those things that are happening. And those people also gives a bit of guidance how to deal with certain things. And based on those learnings and those things, you develop yourself. Yeah? So that's a bit how I learned it in BAT.
Okay, so it's true. The best way to identify, from what I understand, our strengths is trying different things, and
Yeah.
pushing ourselves forward, even though we're not 100% sure how capable we are. And I do guess having someone, a career coach, or someone in your team that can be next to you is definitely really helpful. Um, People in the beginning of their career, they are very afraid of making mistakes. So we're talking now that the way to identify your strengths is by trying new things, by pushing yourself. What about making mistakes and small failures in the position?
Yeah, I think it's a very important point you raise. Yeah, and we in BAT also need to step away from that. Yeah, so we as management and everybody in the organization, we need to allow that people make mistakes. Yeah, and we need to have the mindset to say, listen, if you make a mistake, you learn. Yeah, and by your learning, obviously the whole company is learning with you. Yeah, so in BAT, and I'm honest, we really have a culture shift as well by saying, guys, we need to be open for mistakes, yeah, and we learn from it, and then we take it from there, and based on the learning, we continue. And I think that is what you need to take personally, but you also need to do that from a company perspective, yeah. And that's also why I said to you in your previous question, it's so important that we create the right context, that people are kind of comfortable to make mistakes, yeah. And that is Also, I think when you bring out the best of people, because then people also start to bring innovation and new ideas to processes and things they're doing. Yeah, so that's a very important element. And hopefully, I made it a little bit clear how we deal with that in BAT.
Yes, you did, and I'm happy to hear that you do have a system where you encourage people to try new things and you allow them to make small mistakes. What I'm curious about is what would be some unexpected skills that are valued at British American Tobacco Romania?
Yes, I think it's a very, very good question. I think sometimes what I understood, right, but I'm not 100% sure, is that BT sometimes is be seen as a very big corporate. Obviously, we are a big corporate, but as a result of that, we are very, let's say, hostile in a way how we deal with things, and a little bit less family wise, right? And I want to demystify that a little bit. So I think from a BAT perspective, what we really find important is, let's say, your skills with other people. Let's say your people skills, yeah, the soft skills, which we really value in BAT. Because eventually, and that's also why I stayed so long, I hope, is we have a fantastic people at BAT, and it's really connecting you together with other people is a very important skill. Yeah, so it's not only about the results and but it's also the how, and that is really through people management and developing people skills. Yeah, so that's something in BAT which I found really important, and I think that is that's brought me to where I'm now.
It's great. I do think that it is important to have soft skills and hard skills, and that was going to be my next question. But I think we got the answer that soft skills are very much quite as important as hard skills, and we cannot really advance in a career without them. Um, because you did talk about some false beliefs about what it means to work in a big company, and it's true that even though you're in a very big company, you can still have that feeling of a family within the company and different departments. You are in a position of you have a leadership position at BAT, and I was wondering what are some false beliefs about people working at the executive level?
Yeah, I think so. So I think of potentially people need to respond if they obviously if they want to. I think a false belief is that it's only about results. Yeah, I think that for me is a false belief. The other one is for me would be a false belief. We don't care about the development of people because if people don't perform, we get somebody else, right? I think that's for me is a false belief. And the other thing is one false belief is we don't value the input or the opinion or the belief an employee has because we believe we know everything best. Yeah, so that's another thing I think which is a misbelief. Right, we're building on the knowledge and the ideas and the support of the different teams and of the different people, and it's a misbelief that we don't. Yeah.
And because you do have such a rich career, also before and at VAT, a lot of people that are in the beginning of their career are listening to us. And I was wondering, what would be a challenge that you faced in your career?
Yeah, so I think if you take it from the starting point, right, it would be my first challenge was where I'm gonna apply. Yeah, so in what kind of company am I interested in applying for? And for me, that was for me a choice that I wanted to have to work for an international company. Yeah. And have potentially the exposure to international opportunities. That was one of my dreams. And I think BT is very strong at that. Yeah, so BT is operating in 180 countries. As I said, we have a management trainee program, yeah, global graduate program, for which you can move around in different countries. And obviously, we are. What I also really liked about BAT is, and I noticed that when I arrived here, is that you work with a lot of different cultures. Yeah, so for example, now on a daily basis, I'm talking to people in Costa Rica, talking to people in Kuala Lumpur, talking obviously to people in Romania, and in the rest of Europe, in London. And I talk to, I think, at least 50 different cultures on a daily basis. And that makes it so rich for me in BAT. And that was one of the things I thought I would develop also things by doing so, right? Because if you learn and understand other cultures better, then it also enriches you in as a person, right? So I think that is building a strength based on that. So that was kind of a choice for me to move into BAT. And in terms of, I loved FMCGs, right? Because it's a true product you're working with, which is obviously a little bit of a disconnect versus what we're doing now, right? Because now I'm responsible of delivering services. But it's for me, it's a journey, and I keep on learning. Yeah, and I think what I really liked in the beginning also of BAT, and I still do, is that they keep on challenging me. Yeah, so my learning curve remains pretty steep, I believe myself. And as a result of that, I keep on developing myself. And I think that is very important. And that is, I think, where, yeah, for people who are making a choice about what do they want to do and what kind of company they want to get to, I think that's very important, right? Is do you fit into a certain bucket, and do you want to stay there? Yeah, then I don't think BET is something for you, right? Because we expect you to develop and grow and to challenge. And I think what we can offer is a very, very international career. Also from Bucharest, we are dealing with 180 countries, right? So also if you are based here, you also, yeah, you have a lot of opportunities to interact with a lot of cultures. And that's making it for me kind of exciting. Yeah, that is that element. So that would be my answer.
And it's true, when you work for such a big company, such an established company as British American Tobacco, it does give you this opportunity to have such an international experience, which I think at the beginning of the career, it is really a great experience to have and to build towards. I was curious, because we were talking about people that are at the beginning of their career. What about people that have quite a bit of experience in their domain? Why should they choose to work for British American Tobacco in Romania?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. And I've got obviously a few colleagues who came here as mid-year recruits. Yeah. And I think, yeah, knowing BAT a little bit, and there are also people like me who've been working quite a long time in BAT, is we need also people with an external view and external knowledge. Yeah. So it's always, from an organizational perspective, it's a balance, right, between people who bring knowledge to the company from outside. Yeah, so people who've been doing being certain processes and certain things in other companies, they can bring in knowledge for BAT where we can build on. And also I think from a cultural perspective, it's also good to not only have the same mindset from a BAT perspective, but also to get new views in, new peoples in, and new also leadership capabilities in. That it's the right balance for a company, right? To build on that, and that is why I think also mid year recruits have a lot of a lot of value for BAT. And to the other hand, I think what BAT can offer also to those people is that you're joining a family, which obviously is extremely professional as well. Yeah, so you can also still learn a lot from how we think doing things in BAT. And you can be part also of a transformation story. Yeah, so if you are new or if you are in mid-year, BAT is really transforming its business. Yeah, so I think from a product perspective, we want to get as much as possible, which are less harmful than cigarettes. So that is full transformation to the harm reduction agenda. And the other thing, what we're trying to do as BAT is from a, let's say, technological perspective, is we want to get as much digitalization as possible, and that is also where we are responsible for, is to ensure that we get as much as technology as we can into our processes, to ensure that we're best in class compared to other companies. So we got a very transformational agenda, which, yeah, at least excites me a lot, and that's why you, as a starter, but also as a mid-year recruit, you can enter BAT.
And what I was curious about, there are people that have experience and maybe have worked, already a half of their career in one domain, and they would like to change
Yeah.
their specialization. What advice would you have for people that are looking to make this change, this shift in their career?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you need to be able to say is why. Yeah, so if you're able to articulate why you want that, I think it's very important. One old colleague of mine, for example, she said, I really want to focus now way more on digitalization. And she said, listen, what I'll do is I take a year as sabbatical. So I stop a year as working and I start studying, right? 1 year again in that new domain in which for me things are new. And by doing so, I'm building up new knowledge that I'm also very interested also to new companies, right? So it's sometimes to give a little bit of give and take. I can't say that if you say to BET, I've been doing this for 5 years, but now I want to do something completely new. BET, can you help me with it? Then obviously there's a balance between what you bring in, yeah, and what you can where BET can leverage on, and what you want to do in the future. So what I'm saying is you're always the one who is responsible for your destiny, right? And how you want to drive your career forward. If you want to convince managers at BET that you're the right one for that role, and you have the right, let's say, knowledge, and you have the right drive for it, then go for it, I would say. But the thing is that you always need to be able to sell something. Yeah. And it would be, it's very difficult to be able to say, I have no experience in this domain, but BET, can you hire me? Obviously, that doesn't work that way. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you need to balance that out a little bit. But what I can say is that within BAT, we are pretty risk taking, yeah, about people who work in BAT and then can do different things from within. Yeah. So if you're saying we believe you're the right talent and we need to develop you, we offer you this opportunity. Yeah, with me that has happened a lot, right? So I can give you an example. They said, Martijn, right now it's time for you to go to mergers acquisitions. Yeah. And I said, I have no clue about mergers acquisitions, right? I've never done anything in that domain. And then they said, no, but we trust you. So you go do that now for 1 or 2 years, and then you develop those skills, and we like that. Yeah. So I went to London, I did M&A, did a deal, and it was a fantastic experience. Yeah. So BET is pretty bold in making certain decisions about people's certain careers to be able to accelerate them and to get into, I say, this the space of an what you call an uncomfortable position because you have no experience in it, but it builds the best out of you. Yeah, and that is where you eventually leverage also your strength. Is you do a lot of different things, and then you grow stronger.
Exactly. So what I heard is that a first step would be first to identify why you would like to make this change, and be able to really explain it. Why you be better on a different position in a different domain? But at BAT, did you support you once you are able to show that you have the skills and the passion and the interest? Then it is possible to change different positions, and especially if you will do as your colleague some other specialized classes. I was curious for people that are still in the university, for students that are thinking to start their career. What advice would you have for them? How can they maybe gather some work experience or knowledge or something that would help them in a career?
Yeah, so for example, what helped me a lot as well, and it was in the Netherlands, is to do an internship. Yeah, internship is really giving you, at least BAT is giving you a complete open picture of what is happening in a company, and it gives you a little bit of insights how a company like BAT is working. Also, if you're a little bit hesitant, right? If you say, Martijn can talk a lot about BAT, but I still don't really believe him. You can always go on an internship, which is obviously less risky than applying and having a role at a company. But it gives a very good insight in the kitchen of BAT and what are the opportunities and the possibilities that you can do. And even from an internship, yeah, You can also enroll in the global graduate program. Yeah, so you can, from a internship, you can also go to a management traineeship, which eventually develops you as a manager in BAT.
It's amazing. We did have a question here from Georgiana, one of our followers, about starting an international career at BAT. I do think that with the internship, you did give the answer. Probably one of the best ways is to follow one of the internships. And right now, in the comments of this live podcast, you do have the links to the programs offered by British American Tobacco Romania, where you can apply. I would say, what what would be a last opinion or idea about how we can, once we identified what our strengths are, how can we really leverage them the best way to really flourish in our career or to really have a good start? When we once we know what our strengths are, how can we use them?
Yeah, I think you need to use them on the right way. Yeah, and if you're able to show your peers, your colleagues, but also certainly your manager and the team you're working with, that you have those skills, then it sets you up for your next step. Yeah, because it be able to say, listen, this is the skill set that I have. These are the results that I had on the soft side, but also on the hard side. Now it's time for me to move on. So you drive your career forward by your own, yeah, and pushing your management to make decisions regarding your next steps. Yeah, that is really important because you need to be the one that is driving your career, and you need to be able to say, listen, this is what I did. I'm very proud of it. You're very happy because you appraised me also like this. So where's my next step? Yeah, and you need to be pushy in that way, because the way you're more pushy about it, the more likely it is that you will move on quicker. Yeah, that is my career. That's my advice. Pushy doesn't mean you need to, and every second you need to say, "What's my next step?" Don't get me wrong. You need to find the right balance with your manager, but you need to be very keen on what you want. Yeah, if you're able to say to your manager, "This needs to be my next step, and I get it because of this," it's way easier than to say, I'm not sure what I want to do, perhaps a little bit of that, or perhaps that. Let me think about it. Then obviously nothing happens, huh? In my experience. But if you set your goals, you know what you want to do, and you actually drive for it, then the likelihood that something happens is bigger.
So basically, what I heard is knowing what you want, setting your goals, and then showing initiative, and asking for what you want, and letting people around you, your manager and the team around you, that you're ready to maybe go to the next step in your career. Um, and I think that we did answer most of the questions now that we received. And I was going to just say thank you for accepting our invitation and for being present, Martin.
Yes.
Um, we did learn quite some valuable information about identifying what our strengths are, and how to leverage them, and how to build a career and start a career at the British American Tobacco Romania. BAT is our national partner this edition of Top Employers in the business category. And there is a link right now available in the description of this post, where you can visit their virtual stand and you can look for all the career opportunities available and all the jobs that are now open. So thank you very much for listening to another episode of our podcast, and we're going to see you soon. And I wish you everyone a lovely day.
Thank you very much, Julia. Bye.